Hello, everyone. On our podcast show this week, we celebrate another anniversary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Winston, for dragging my bony butt, my skeleton butt onto this podcast because I was basically done 2 years ago where Winston said, hey, want to do a podcast? I'm like, not really. but somehow we did it and we did it right. And we're going to be talking about some of those things coming up in another episode. But in this episode, what we want to do is we want to kind of reflect on the last year because lots of things have happened. We have some of our favorite moments. We have some shows that we really love. And we want to highlight those things, including some of the relationships we built, some of the sponsorship things. And we'll talk about some of the sponsorship things because I think that podcasts, every podcast wants to be sponsored. And I think we can kind of share some of those tips and tricks for those long lasting relationships, even if there's no money involved in them. You can always work with people and do really great things together. So I wanted to ask, within the last year, Winston, what are some of the things that have happened with you that kind of impacted the podcast?
I think a lot of things include, establishing a lot of good relationships, because without good relationships, things don't get done, right? So remember the first time I approached you and we wanted to do a podcast. At the time, I think COVID just kind of ended, or in the middle kind of ended, right? Something like that. And, there was a lot of things, upheaval and all that kind of stuff. So I said and I moved to Canada 2 years ago. So I said to Stephen, hey, how about doing something together, right? And call it our own. Something that we can, really put our efforts in and some, our interests, our hobbies and that time into this podcast and kind of see where it takes us. And here we are today, 2 years later. And we're doing well. And I think, without that kind of connection and that kind of chemistry, it's really hard to do a podcast because, people come and go and, something might happen with their families or other, interests and other things like that. And they move on. And, having something that's like connects us together, it really helps with, producing a really good podcast, because without that, that's, it's difficult, right?
Thinking back, because it's a long time and, memory is not so good these days. I think that I was just leaving. I was leaving a show that was basically, it was going to fail anyway. Right. It was a TV show. And it has a radio show component, which I still work on and off, which has also gone away. And the whole moment where I'm like, do I really want to continue to do podcast or anything related to broadcasting? Was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. And then this jackhole digs me up and it's like, hey, we need to do a podcast. I don't really want to do that. But okay, if you're enthusiastic, sure, why don't we do that? But we got to do it right.
Yeah, we do got to do it right. And I think, I've actually kind of managed to kind of pull that enthusiasm out of you, right? Because you kind of lost it a little bit through some of the connections you had before. But I want to bring the person out, the real Stephen, right? And he came out, not a different sense, right? He came out in the sense that he wants to do something such as a podcast where we can talk about topics and have fun and kind of like really give you the content that we can provide, and through not just tech, but also, what's the word? Popular kind of culture, right?
Yeah, we threw a lot of things at the wall in the first year. In the second year, we were kind of more focused on some of the things that really resonated with people, or for that matter, divided people. I mean, one of the divisive issues right now is electric vehicles. And for some reason, it's become a political issue, which it shouldn't. I mean, there are a lot of benefits to driving an electric vehicle, not only for environmental purposes, which some people like, but I did it just because it's cheaper, way, 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 way cheaper. And also because studies are now coming out finally about the effects of exhaust on people. Those early studies, and there are some other ones out there, but the ones that have been done by UVic, University of Victoria and UBC, where they actually put people inside MRIs and showed people's brain patterns and how they changed and became dumber when exposed to exhaust, in particular diesel and also other exhaust. They were working on kind of fleshing that out a little bit more. We could be so much smarter if we just weren't huffing exhaust fumes. And I know that myself, because I've been driving electric vehicles for so long, because they are low to no emission vehicles, I smell exhaust. When I smell it, I notice it. You know, it kind of gives me that kind of lingering headache. And I guess I just lived through it growing up, as everyone does. But once you get yourself away from that poison, it really kind of, I never thought I was poisoning myself before.
Yeah, for me, I mean, through some of the podcasts you've done with the EVs, you've actually not just convinced me, but, you know, when we moved to a new place, they had all the facilities, including the charging ports, right, for the EVs. And I thought, well, my wife's going to get a new car anyway. So she decided to get an EV. And the amount of money that she saved every month, it's unbelievable.
It's not a small amount.
It's crazy. She used to fill up her gas tank like $200 every month. And now we switched over to an EV. We're paying like $50, $60 a month.
Yeah. And that's if you have to do a public charge. And in this case, you're just doing hydro straight through your socket at your residence, which is great, and which is how most people actually charge. But you know, this is not an EV show specifically. This is one of many, many topics that we've talked about, including you know, ice cream machines. We talked about how the McDonald's ice cream machines actually break down, and I think we're due for an update, Winston. You actually led that that episode. I think we need to do a follow-up. So maybe we put that on the calendar for the next season coming up, because our last season, season 7, you know, this is the kickoff to season 8, technically. And season 7 was really long. And I just think we just lost track of that season because it just went for like forever. So today marks the beginning of season 8. Today also marks the anniversary of our show's second anniversary, which is great. You're seeing this on Wednesday at noon, as we promise, every single week. And we're back from just a little bit of a break, because we've taken a little bit of time off, so that we are bringing this show to you on the first Wednesday of May, which is technically our anniversary week. Right. So that's great. So moving along, I think that we should also touch on some of our favorite shows specifically, because I know that when we talk about our shows and everything in broad terms, there are specific shows that we really love. What are some of the ones that you did where you're thinking, hey, we did a really good job with that?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about, well, for me, technology, right? So as you know, this year AI has blown up. Kind of like it's a hot topic, yes, but also a controversial topic, and also a lot of people don't understand what AI is about. So, you know, we're trying to explain what AI really and how it affects all of us in our normal lives, right? From, you know, automated, industries, and a lot of the cars that you drive are, you know, all AI kind of like produced using like robots and stuff like that. And moving on from there, there's a lot of other things which are connected through AI. And you'll see a lot of that now this year and moving on next year and so on. So I think we should do another one, kind of like really look at some of the more, not technical, but more of the everyday kind of AI stuff, right, which are out there already. So we'll see more of that. Tesla is big on that. And as you know, it's something that they'll kind of like really kind of like invest heavily on, especially now you see Microsoft and now even Reddit and things like that all going to be using AI. So it's going to be big.
I think that one of the things that has come about, and you know, it's interesting that you brought up Tesla, is the fact that Tesla's business model, at least according to Elon tweeting, is that they're no longer pursuing the low-cost EV alternative. The Model 3 will be the low-cost model for them. Maybe it gets cheaper, maybe it doesn't, but that will be the bottom rung for them. Their low-cost vehicle will be robotaxis. They've said it in the past before.
Right.
It's just never happened the way that they kind of intended, where there would be fleets of Teslas that would drive themselves all over the place, like in that movie where they all crashed on the interstate that Elon doesn't like. That's an interesting move. Like I thought that they would be going with a Model 2. Many analysts would say, hey, Model 2 is the next thing. But no, they want to do a Robotaxi fleet. The question is, how will they fuel these Robotaxi fleets, and where will these fleets deploy? And who will be managing the fleets, and how will be managed? Because you still have Tesla superchargers everywhere, but are these going to become not available because all the Robotaxis need to charge up? That'll be interesting.
They'll have to kind of install or integrate a auto charging system where the car or the vehicle will actually drive into a charging spot. So
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so they'll have probably have a Tesla supercharging station just for these Robotaxis where the car will automatically drive into it. There's probably some receptacle somewhere on the car where it'll automatically connect, charge, and when it's fully charged, the car will just run off again.
I wonder if there's any records on property acquisitions, because that would tell you whether or not they would be dealerships or Robotaxi hubs. Because if they all came to one area for servicing and everything, and then they would deploy, that would be a very interesting thing to look up. Because if that is if Elon's not lying this time, if Elon is actually doing what the company, doing a service to promote something that the company really is doing this time, this would be something that I would look into. Because if they are setting up that's the only way that it makes sense to me, is that you would have these central garages where all the Robotaxis would come in, and then they would disperse. And then as they start to run down on charge or they need service, they would run back to these, right, themselves, because it would not make sense otherwise. So hopefully there's more developing on that, but that's what I've heard so far. But you know how Elon is.
I think for another podcast, I think the upgrade show, that was interesting because we kind of shown users how to upgrade. You don't have to spend tons of money just to upgrade a PC. That was good, and that was sponsored by Kingston, right?
Yeah, that was a really evergreen show. I think that the reason why Kingston wanted to get behind us on that is because Kingston sells upgrades, right? If Apple has a new product, chances are Kingston's not going to be part of the upgrade cycle, unless you're talking about external drives like the XS2000, which is a fantastic, very fast external real NVMe SSD drive that has loads of speed and everything, loads of storage options, and also USB drives. But even those things, I think that with the cloud and everything, they're becoming less and less ubiquitous, and it's fine. And I think that there's fewer and fewer chances for Kingston to kind of break in. So I think that throughout that episode, we found really ingenious and unique ways for those products to actually be integrated along the line. And as long as there's a PC industry where upgrades and everything are there, I think Kingston has a place.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we've seen now new phones, especially with the Android, with OS 4.4 plus, and also iPhone 15s. You're able to use external drives to connect straight to the phone and record directly onto those drives, which means you don't have to rely on the cloud, which can be slow, and you need internet connection. So recording directly onto the drive from the phone means you can take this external drive and then plug it straight into your laptop or your computer, and you can actually edit and render directly off the drive.
Yeah.
So that's how fast these SSDs are now.
I know that Samsung has their own, flash memory products, but for everyone else out there to have a really nice alternative, like Kingston products, which are fantastic. I still use mine. I think they're great, and just having that competition in the marketplace that isn't a monopoly.
Yeah, and right? you mentioned that there was an external case or casing or USB enclosure or something that you can put your SSD in, right?
Oh,
that's a good hack.
What's it called? The Kingston. Well, I'll look up the proper name, but the workflow station. Workflow station. I like that. I've actually had one on my desk for a couple of years now, and it's one of the things that I enjoy using a lot because it allows me to, like for example, this podcast show. I use it to unload all of the footage by plugging both cards into it immediately, plugging my audio card into it. Yeah. And then I'm already dragging and dropping from folders from this thing that's already got all the drive letters assigned. So by the time I grab a copy and come back, everything's already copied from all these drives, and I can just put all the cards away. It's great. We do have it on that show. Maybe we'll put it in the description below so you can have a look at it. But it's a PC focused show. It does have some stuff for Mac, I believe, that we put in there just to kind of cover our bases. But definitely worth seeing because and watching, because we go through a lot of things that you might not have even thought about, because these are just not. I guess for a lot of people that aren't into upgrades and everything, they're not roads that they necessarily go down.
But I think for everyone, another show we did was the cybersecurity show. That was good because it actually helps a lot of people how to improve the security, right? Through FMA and multi-form factor authentication and stuff like that.
Really practical things.
Yeah, things like that. So how to better protect yourself, especially when you're online. Especially now these days, people shop online, and there's a lot of personal information out there. It's just crazy how easily people can get hold of it unless you protect yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Whether using proper long passwords and not the same passwords, not simple passwords, strong proper passwords, or get like a password manager and things like that, right?
Yeah, like 1Password or 1Password's one. The other one is what's the other one called? I can't.
There's a couple of ones.
LastPassword. LastPassword's the other one.
Yeah.
They've lost passwords as well too because they've been hacked. So 1Password is Canadian at the very least. So hopefully we're better.
Yeah.
But also because we just had tax season, a lot of people should be securing their stuff anyway because tax information is it's very important to secure because people, if they have enough information about you, they can actually apply for credit cards in your name.
Yeah, that's right. So
it's very dangerous.
Identity theft, right?
Yeah,
so it's all about just about your personal information or my details got hacked and access your banking details and stuff like that. It's not just also that, but they can actually steal your identity and then do malicious things with that. So it's very dangerous, but also need to protect yourselves. And with the cyber security show, that was a really good show that we provided some information.
Yeah, and it was very, very useful in putting some of these concepts. Like there's some bigger concepts that he kind of broke down for us, and I thought that was really useful. One of the shows that was kind of my favorite was actually one of the shows that was from our Computex series. It was talking to a young innovator, Rob Teller from Hyte.
That's right, yeah.
He's been in the industry for so long, but he has the soul of an old person. Like seriously, like the guy's young. He started in the NZXT forums as a forum lurker. He became a community manager. He worked for them. He became a product manager. And then he went off and did his own thing. He made a boatload of money working for
Acetech, right?
For Acetech.
Yeah.
And working for, like Dell. He worked for all sorts of people through that company. It was just managing corporate accounts. I can't imagine anyone else. Like, I don't have that kind of head on me, even at my age. He just has this kind of, it's kind of like this.
He did, he did a podcast with us, right?
Yeah.
And you can listen to that, and he explains what it is that drives him. Because I remember he said he had some money from his family member, and the first thing he did was to buy an ultimate gaming PC.
Build a PC. And
it cost him like $2,500 or $3,000, whatever.
A lot of money back then.
A lot of money back then. And half the stuff he said he would build, it didn't quite fit him. As in, it wasn't that easy to build. So that's how he got the idea of actually building or creating something that people want.
Yeah.
It's easy to build. It looks great. And it's got all the features that gamers want or people who's enthusiasts want. Things like having like the vertical graphics, having space for cooling and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's all in there, and he explains the kind of the concept and the ideas how he came up with,
how it became the company that we know today as Hyte, because this was a long time coming. This took many
years,
like couple decades until he was ready to come back to the industry, because he even had a cannabis operation, like a storefront shop, online shopping and everything like that. And, he's a serial entrepreneur, but he has so much wisdom for his age. And, I wish everyone would listen to Uncle Rob, because he just shows a different side of youth that I really, really appreciate and respect. And if you can't find that podcast, it's actually we'll put a link below for Rob Teller's interview from Computex. It was just something that was very eye-opening for me, because I've known him for so long. Like I've known the guy since he was at NZXT, which is years and years ago, when he just had a baby face. It was remarkable to hear how much he's grown up, and I'm so proud of him, like a uncle.
Uncle Steven.
That was great.
Yeah, and talking about Computex, we also did a couple of interviews with the CEO Kenny Lin. That was
I enjoyed
interesting.
that, actually. That was really interesting.
You know, not talking about Thermaltake products, computer products, but also his passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was really important that we were able to pull that out, because when you talk about tech, especially specifically niche tech where it's a computer case, not a lot of, you know, mainstream people, like if you go out on the street and say, hey, have you ever built a PC? Chances are no. Have you had someone build one for you? Maybe. That's usually someone in that niche, right? So Kenny Lin, talking to him, we could have just talked about the industry, which would really be kind of boring to most people, right? But one thing that he has a passion for was riding a bike. Everyone rides a bike, right? And because of that, we were able to draw out from him his happy place. Because which tech CEO builds a bike shop with his tech name on it? Like Kenny Lin does. And why does he do that? Because he freaking loves bikes.
That's right.
He loves riding them. He loves the craftsmanship. He loves that old world feel and everything. And he thought that he had something to give to the industry, which I think he does, because tech moves very fast.
Yeah, I mean, when he first came out with a bike shop, and people in the tech industry were saying, why a bike shop? And what? It's nothing to do with tech.
Even his staff couldn't explain it, which is why he's like, oh, no, you need to talk to Kenny, right? Because they couldn't explain it, right? It was cool that they got it. I bet you anything, it was really cool for all the staff to have a discount on the bike. That's cool. But to explain why I'm making product marketing PC cases and coolers, and now there's a bike shop here, I don't understand. It's hard, right? It's hard for Kenny to kind of have other people explain, but he has a really great vision. And it kind of came about during COVID, where there's this whole virtual online esports that is related to bicycling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you know, and this is I've actually dabbled in this a little bit. There's actually running as well too, but you know, like the way that he set everything up. There's the products that he has for cycling in front of your desk. You can compete against people.
That's right.
You need the hardware and everything like that to have high-end PCs. They're capable of having the frame rates where you don't vomit in front of your. You know.
So he's actually demoed a computer that they've built, and it's hooked up to a bike, and that's all connected up.
Yep.
So, and they got a screen in front of the bike, so you're actually virtually riding the bike. And he's teamed up with like sponsors from the bike industry for the Tour de France and things like that. So there's a lot of big industry players behind the scenes. And that's how he's able to get this off the ground. And we're well done to Kenny for doing that, because that's his passion, right? And he's always been into the bikes.
It's quite innovative because this whole industry really grew because of the isolation. Many people felt that they couldn't ride with their friends anymore. But this really grew, and it's become a really big deal. And lots of really big companies in that space, like Garmin. Garmin actually creates the equipment, the trainers that he uses to actually hook up to, and that telemetry goes through the system. There's what's it called again? Shoot, I can't remember the name of it, but it has a really funny name. But this one app that you can run on your phone and also on your tablets and everything like that, it logs a lot of people's activities and everything like that. It's a really fun app. I can't remember. I'll put the link below.
Oh, it's for the running as well, right?
It's for running as well too. You can run. You can do I think you can do triathlon, but only parts of it. But it's such a cool app, and I just can't remember what it's called, man. But keep them talking. I'm gonna quickly look it up.
Yeah, so that's really good. And you talked about some sports stuff, because he got himself into running, because he was like, he want to get into shape and stuff like that. But he Stephen here decided to, okay, let's give it a treadmill and stuff like that. He got himself a treadmill, and he's got this app which connects up to all his exercise and sports and stuff like that, and he's able to use that app to retrack his progress with doing the treadmill, because we talked about treadmills and stuff like that, and he said he's gonna help get that weight down. But for me, I'm more in a gym guy, kind of just go to the gym, stuff like that. But with a treadmill, you can actually stay at home and do that. You can put it away. I think that's a really good idea for a lot of people who wants to stay at home
Yeah, the app that I was using is called Zwift, Zwift. I think I talked about it a little while ago as a kind of a fun game thing, and I did play around with it with my treadmill. So I'm actually running. You can see the avatar, and you're running against people all around the world. You can do the Boston Marathon. You could do.
Oh, nice.
You could run those, and you can see the route and everything like that. So Zwift is the companion app that you can use, and this is something that PCs can connect you as well too.
Yeah.
But if you have a PC and you have a real bike and you're doing the Tour de France, the connection, they basically take your wheel off. You put this stationary block in the back. And the stationary block in the back allows you to measure power and speed and distance and everything like that. And then they have this other thing that connects to the front of the bike that gives you elevation and everything like that too. So it feels like you're actually riding up a mountain. And then there's these game paddles that you can put into your real bike. And then you can actually shift down and everything virtually because you can't use your real gears.
Yeah.
So it actually shifts everything around.
Interesting.
It connects to everything. It's really neat how this all came about and how much technology is there. And because this is tech, Kenny knows tech.
Yeah, of course.
So everything all together bundled where you can just start riding immediately, where he has a bike shop. He can sell you the PC, pre-built from Thermaltake PC and everything like that. You got the desk. You got the lounge where you ride. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
So a fully integrated system, because otherwise, if you had this vendor, people that exercise, people that ride bikes aren't necessarily technical people.
They're not. Really.
They just want a solution. And if Kenny can provide that, a $10,000 solution for some really wealthy person that just wants all the stuff, yeah, he'll do that. That's a lot of margin. Also,
there's a lot of margin. You're right.
And speaking of margin, it was funny when we were talking to him for just those few minutes in that interview. He's like, I mentioned that, bikes, they have a whole lot more margin than PCs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, definitely.
But I mean, I've seen those bikes for $10,000. What?
Yeah, like bikes have good margin. Like you're talking 20 points or and above, right?
Crazy.
Some of them even more. And custom built ones, you pay for the labor and everything even more. So he's picked a good industry to kind of complement the PC industry that has less margin.
You might have a downturn in the tech industry, but for bikes, I'm making a load of money there.
Yeah, and I want to talk to him about that more because the way that he's brought bikes brands into Taiwan, and Taiwan, just so everyone knows, Taiwan is where all the big bike brands come from.
Yeah.
You have Giant Bicycles, Specialized, Santa Cruz, all these other brands actually ask Giant Bicycles, their white label division, to build all their bikes.
Oh,
right?
Didn't know that.
So as far as bikes go, as far as bike companies goes, Giant is truly a giant. Wow. They manufacture everything, and they have all this technology behind them that makes other people's brands possible.
Wow.
So Taiwan is a titan in the bike space.
Yeah, I think for our podcast, we want to talk about stories, people's stories, and one of the stories that was interesting was another CEO, Jimmy Sha from Cooler Master.
Oh yeah, Jimmy.
And of course, Cooler Master make computer products again because we're kind of tech related, that kind of stuff. But his other passion was cooking.
Yeah, he's the chef executive officer, including to being the chief executive officer. It was amazing that first of all, they have a new building in Nehu.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a heat sink.
Yeah, it looks great.
But one of the things that they have downstairs is this amazing cafe. There's always a staff with really well-known and renowned chefs that have really interesting visions about how food should be prepared. And the menu changes constantly with these celebrity chefs coming in. In fact, because of the location in Nehu, which is very close to some of the TV broadcast stations and film studios, they have a lot of celebrities that just show up at his fine dining establishment downstairs.
Yeah. I had a squid risotto.
That was so tasty. Squid egg risotto. I've never had something that looked that fresh. And what they were telling us at our visit was that because their building looks so different, they often use it as either a bad guy hideout or some headquarters of some clandestine
the
agency,
bad corporation
or bad corporation. And what they'll do is in the middle of the night, these film crews, because they don't do permits or anything they just move the film crew over, they shoot what they need to shoot, and then they run away. That's how they do it in Taiwan.
So you don't need permits or permission. There's no one around.
Just make sure it's cleaned up. and make sure that no one knows you've been there. That's all. It just shows up in the show all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, Jimmy started Cool Master when he was really young, and then he kind of built up his passion through, many years at Cool Master.
He's been a decade as CEO, but he's been in that company for a long time.
Yeah, long time. And we only just found out he was actually passionate about cooking. He does a lot of cooking. You actually posted a picture of him doing a beef Wellington.
He did a beef Wellington, yes.
Do you know how hard it is to do
difficult.
a beef Wellington? Oh my God.
Without it being all smushy and everything like that, that takes a long time.
Yeah. Well, Gordon Ramsay will actually tell you how hard it is. And he's actually created and cooked one. So, well done.
Not well done. No, not well done.
No, well done.
No, never
well done to him,
no.
But don't do well done.
Yeah, don't do a well done. Otherwise, you get yelled at by Gordon. But, interesting person that, of all the things, tech is his passion. Like, he's super geeky. He's super geeky big brother uncle. But he's got this side mission that's all about not tech. And we found out so many of these things about all these people.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one other person that we talked to, Nelly.
Oh, Nelly
Hsieh.
From Inwin.
From Inwin. This is a company that they're much like Giant because they actually develop the technologies and capabilities necessary for their OEM contracts, the ones where they're building cases for other companies, sub-brands, that they build and develop all these technologies so that these other companies can realize their visions too. But their flagship is actually going out there and just creating technology. Like folded cases, like glass panels. They're one of the first. Tubular cases, they're welded. All these technologies. Concept cases, basically things that you would see in an art museum. And they do have a piece in the art museum. Yeah. It was their, can't remember what this case is called, but it's the one that looks like a spire.
That's right.
And it's inside the kind of an art museum, Asian art museum in Australia.
Is that the one that's built with like stainless steel and it's like huge and it weighs a ton?
It's not stainless steel. It's basically poured aluminum.
Oh, aluminum.
Yeah,
okay.
It's basically built like if you were to pour molten aluminum inside an anthill. This is the concept they used to build it.
That's right. Okay.
Gosh, I can't remember. I've actually touched that case before, and I've had it. It comes in a half crate. It is amazing. It's still at the old studio that I used to work at. I wish I did more with that case, but it was an amazing case. And the Z Tower.
Z Tower.
Yeah, I think it's called the Z Tower. And things like that is what they do. And one of the people that's leading that team, that's the global marketing manager, is Nelly Hsieh.
Yeah.
And she never actually wanted to work in the case industry, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, she wanted to do fashion and beauty products and stuff like that, I remember. And she said she has a team of youngsters that kind of like come up with these crazy concept ideas, which if you go through or other corporate, companies, they'll probably think, what kind of idea is it? They'll probably chuck it in the bin, right?
Yeah.
But she would take this idea and she'll, give some feedback and kind of like nurture and kind of like help those youngsters come up with these great ideas and then kind of put into production or concept and stuff like that. So
one of the youngsters, Arian, he's one of the lead designers there. He, of all things, he designed like cookware. He designed like appliances.
Appliances, okay.
Yeah, he didn't. He doesn't necessarily build PCs, but he designs things, right? Okay. And I thought that was really interesting because you're taking design element, like you're really pushing the envelope of design, and you're not necessarily thinking about the PC aspect of it. You just want it to look really good first, and then put the PC side into it with some of the engineers there, because there are engineers in that company that will take care of the PC stuff. You just have to make sure the design is viable for them to help you with that last mile, right? And man, these guys are amazing. And Nelly is amazing as a female leader in the industry. And that, don't get me wrong, industry has come a long way, but still there are a lot of older executives that don't necessarily accept female leadership. But the team that she's built, the support that she has, is just really inspiring.
Oh yeah,
truly inspiring. And if you are a female in the industry, in the tech industry, and you're wondering is there anywhere for me to lead? Is there an opportunity? How do I get this inspiration? I want you to check out that interview. I think that Nelly, being a female in the Asian dominant, male dominant industry, thriving, and we all love her, is amazing.
Oh yeah,
Definitely check that out.
That's right. And I think another great podcast that you did, talking about EVs, is the fully electrified show where you tried a new type of car from this company.
Oh yes, VinFast.
VinFast.
Oh my God.
That was a good one. I like that one.
And I want to do more of these kind of review shows. I think that's something that we could definitely get around, where we go out, we experience something, and we tell you all about it firsthand. And the VinFast VF8 was one of the vehicles I wanted to get my hands on.
How good was it?
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. But everything that was said about it and all of the scathing reviews out there were actually almost 100% true. They just could have been said nicer. That's all, right? It wasn't untrue. It's just when you try to mask over it's a vehicle. It costs money. This thing isn't cheap. It's like a $54,000 vehicle as tested, right? This is their top trim.
Okay.
And the thing didn't work right. There was all sorts of software issues, buzzers, bings and bongs, and the backup camera was really kind of scary because it only showed you, it told you where you were, but the margin of error was too slim.
Because that's right. The beeps didn't come in until really late.
Until you're really close.
Because
I tend to back up quite quickly, like I would when I back up as quickly into a spot as I do pulling in from the front. So because it was so late, it wouldn't have given me that margin of error that I needed.
You drove like 2 miles an hour.
I could have hit the gate behind me, right? So everything that was said about the car, the bounciness, the lack of steering, like just the overall unquality of the ride was true.
Yeah, but the quality of the materials. I mean, I was sitting at the back seat and it was really plasticky. And it was like...
The seats were very thin.
Yeah.
Now... VinFast has
thin.
since kind of done some improvements to the software and the suspension, but these are hardware things, not software fixes, right? You can't just fix software with over-the-air upgrade. Some of the bings and bongs have gone away, but the suspension is still bouncing on every single vehicle that has shipped before this revision.
Yeah.
So they're all still bad.
Didn't it have a HUD head-up display?
It had a HUD. That if you wore polarized sunglasses, and most drivers wear polarized sunglasses, you cannot see the HUD.
Because it blocks it.
The polarization takes it away. So it's not the right technology for that.
And the thing is, it had the most vital information on there. It was the speedometer, right?
Speedometer, your range,
and
charge.
on the small dash, it didn't have that.
No, there's no indicator. There's no speed indicator. It's basically dash and then HUD. And then everything else is on this single touchscreen with no there were no hardware buttons.
And then we asked a very sensitive question. We asked the guy, how'd you start the car?
Yeah. That was odd. And I'll tell you right now is that because of the way that you start the vehicle, it literally there's no ignition. You bring the key in, you just enter the vehicle, and then you hit, and then you just drive away.
So there's no start button or anything like that?
Nothing, right? You just drive away. It just starts when you are in the vehicle at some point. Apparently, there's some issues with this because now it just takes forever for it to do that. Because I've seen some videos from Out of Spec Motoring. They actually purchased one for one of their employees to use as a long-term test vehicle, and they bought it right off the lot. They didn't tell them who they were, but the delivery process was kind of it was okay. Yeah. Everyone just did their best, but then when they went to charge their vehicle, the dashboard actually disappeared.
Oh,
so they couldn't see if it was charged. They didn't know.
So
they didn't know.
And you mentioned that
it was a new vehicle.
This car could be great for Asian market, but then really it's not really for the North American market, right? It's always
I think that this vehicle isn't really that great for the way. Okay. The way it drives and some of the issues, it should be good for any market because it's kind of, I don't like it. I don't like driving it. I don't like it. In fact, just so that I'm not being harsh on it, because I'm not an owner, I actually went inside one of the VF8 owners groups and I saw all the problems that the owners have been having.
Oh.
So even the owners themselves, as apologetic as some of them are, it's not glossing over the issues. They have issues.
I mean, if you have so much choice nowadays, you got EVs from Volkswagen, you got EVs from Ford.
Well, let's set the stage.
Hyundai.
It's a
Kia.
$60,000 vehicle. What can you buy for $60,000?
I can buy other brands.
You can buy an ID4.
ID4 is nice, really
you
nice.
You can buy a new Blazer. The new Chevy Blazer EV has a lot of pedigree from their Bolt, so they've got a lot of things they've done right in the past that they're bringing forward.
Yeah.
You can buy any of the Neros. You can buy an Ioniq lower trim. You can buy an EV6 Kia lower trim.
Nice.
You can buy. There's a lot you could buy.
A lot of choice, yeah.
Right. The Volvo, even the Volvo EX30, it's coming. It'll be well under $60,000. You can buy that. That's a better vehicle for sure. Right. Polestar. You can buy Polestar.
Yeah,
that's a nice vehicle.
There's a lot of choice for $60,000, and then for a brand which is not really proven yet, and a new brand as well, with all these problems that you mentioned, I think it might take some time for them to really kind of like iron out.
They really need to iron this stuff out, because the resale value on all these vehicles is going to be very low because of the satisfaction. The battery isn't the only thing that needs to be good. The range isn't the only thing that needs to be good. Otherwise, luxury brands wouldn't even matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't feel necessarily safe driving this vehicle into some of the wilderness areas that we went to.
Oh,
Prince George.
Prince George. We did the road trip. That was quite interesting. I like that.
2,200 kilometers.
Yeah, we did a long trip.
Yeah, it was a long trip. It cost us $119 in charging, roughly. We'll have to go back on that show. It was really good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your wife used to pay $200 a month to fill up her vehicle.
That's just going back and forth to work. That's it.
Not 2,000 kilometers.
No, just back
right?
to downtown. Not even downtown. It was just on the, I think it was just by Granville. That's it, and come back.
So that's cheap. It's dirt cheap. And we didn't really run into any issues because guess what? We needed to stop anyway because we needed to go pee.
We found out that there was a lot of BC Hydro charging stations, super fast charging stations located along all the remote roads, believe it or not. And you said before we couldn't do this road trip a couple of years ago because they didn't have that infrastructure. Now they have.
Yeah, you couldn't get all the way up to Prince George on DC fast charging just a couple of years ago. Now you can. Like it's such a change.
Yeah,
it's remarkable.
So when people say, "Oh, well, I'm afraid to get stuck."
EVs don't work in Canada in the cold. Yeah, they do. They do. You could make it because we had excess stops. Where we needed to be, and like honestly, I don't know what to say. I mean, it does work. It's cheap too. It was quiet.
Yeah,
it was fun in the summer, right? In northern BC, Prince George, that's quite far.
It is far.
And if we wanted to go all the way up around to, like Hyte, we could have. We could have gone all the way up to Prince Rupert area.
Yeah, we only had 2 days, so we stayed up like a couple of nights, and that was it.
Yeah.
But if we had a long weekend, I think we could have done that.
We could have done. It would have been nice to have broken it up into a week trip because there's so much amazing scenery up there.
Oh yeah.
Because you're going up, and then you're going up near Alaska and underneath.
We wanted to do a kind of remote kind of podcast where we find a table out in the middle of nowhere and just use our roadcaster, the mics, and also just a portable battery pack. You had a portable power bank that you had actually powered the whole thing.
Yeah,
which is crazy. And we could do one of those maybe next season or something like that.
Yeah, it's we definitely have to set up. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our upcoming show.
So let me ask you what other shows that you were kind of like, hey, I like this one because it was informative or whatever that you enjoyed. So was there any particular ones that you?
Well, I like the fact that one of our last EV shows, which one was it, where we were just talking about the updates to all the different brands?
It was just an update show.
Yeah, we were just talking about the state of charge EV electric vehicles in the market and where they are at, and how things are going. It was one of the first times where someone actually gave us a negative comment that didn't hurt my feelings, but hopefully it got a lot of you watching the show, and I think you did, because when you leave a negative comment on something, chances are, it can't be that bad. I'll watch the show. So according to this one commenter, we have no business talking about Aptera, DeLorean, or Rivian, because we know nothing about them.
We don't.
Right? I don't know John DeLorean. That's true. I've never driven a DeLorean. That's true. I've actually touched the Rivian because they were all there at Fully Charged show, so I know something about them.
Yeah.
And the Aptera, well, they haven't actually shipped the car, so okay.
Oh, they haven't actually shipped one yet.
No, but they're working on it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but yeah, it's any feedback is good feedback, even negative, because that gets people to watch the episode. So thank you for for doing that. That was fantastic. But we've got a big season coming up, because season 8 will actually intersect with our Computex trip.
Oh, that's right.
In May. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that coming up. We're also going to be talking about kind of an update to some of the equipment and our operations of trying to be a successful podcast in year 2. Maybe some of the things, how we are doing things now versus how we're doing things before. Not much has changed, but we do want to give you an update on that, to say maybe if there's some things that we can tell you that might help with your podcast. Let us know in this podcast, and then maybe we'll include that as well too. And I think that's basically a nice look at the last year or so.
Last year.
We did get sponsors. Just FYI, we shout out to our first sponsors for our first year, or second year rather, right? Because first and second year, right? So Kingston Technology has been fantastic to us, so thank you them, and also Kal Tire, of all companies. Kal Tire wanted us. Oh, that was one of my other favorite episodes. Kal Tire, the tire episode.
Yeah, we did. We talked about in depth, kind of like the different tires that you need, winter tires and stuff like that. So I have no clue about what tires.
They don't do winter in the UK or in Hong Kong.
No winters.
No winters there, right? No real winters. But here, we need to be aware of that information. There was so much technology to talk about in winter tires that I think a lot of people were like, huh, really?
Yeah. Check it out.
Double digits stopping? Yes, this is true, because a lot of people get away, and, because they haven't had an accident, it means they'll never have an accident.
Or an incident where they're stuck in the middle of nowhere, the snow and ice and stuff like that.
Or they would, an at-fault accident would never happen to them. I think there's a term for this that's a psychological term, where if it's never happened to you, it can't happen to you. It's related to survivor's guilt, but it's the opposite of it. A lot of people believe that, they're immune. Because I drive really well, or I'm always safe, or I don't go where bad drivers are.
The weather is unpredictable as
and so is traffic. You can't. So are people.
Yeah, you can't predict it. 1 minute it could be sunny, and next minute it could be blistering down with like snow showers. Yeah. You don't know.
So it's really still perplexing to this day that when you read some of the comments on some forums where Guy Buddy 604 says, oh yeah, no, you don't need winter tires. You just need good all-season tires. I've driven them for years, and I'm like 55, and I've never changed. You're probably the same guy that actually complained about seatbelts as well too, right?
Yeah.
Our superpower is changing our minds, and because remember, an accident is contact. If a vehicle contacts your vehicle, that's an accident. So if you can avoid that vehicle by 6 inches with a tire that stops that much faster.
Oh yeah. Safety
first.
Yeah, safety first.
All right. Good. So that's a good starting episode for season 8. And Winston, thank you for dragging my butt into podcasting.
No, I hope that by doing this, you really kind of like enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, then it's no point doing it. And I think we find enjoyment doing this podcasts, right? Because it's just about updates and what we've done, tech stuff,
talk about new tech,
all that kind of stuff. So it's and we're kind of passionate about what we do and what we like and what we grown up with and things like that. Yeah. We want to share our stories, and I think podcast is all about sharing stories, right, and experiences. And as you know, we did that a lot with the podcast at Computex and some of the people that we've interviewed, but also informational stuff, podcasts, which Stephen has with his EVs and all that kind of informational stuff. I think it's really interesting.
As we learn, you learn along with us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for supporting us for the last year. We are moving into our second. Wow, my goodness, second
eighth season, right?
Yeah, eighth season.
Wow.
Eighth season. Episode 100 is coming up really soon. Probably sometime in August. So yeah, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you to all the companies that have been looking over our shoulder and helping us along. Thank you to all the sponsors that have been helping us along for our big show during Computex.
Yes,
so many companies, and we're going back again.
That's right.
And thank you, Winston, for being here every week.
Thank you for joining me and becoming part of this podcast. Because without you, this podcast wouldn't survive. But this podcast here is better, much better.
And make sure that you join us every week on Wednesday at noon for a brand new episode. We will be having another show coming up. The next show will obviously be something related to podcasting, and we want to give you an update on everything that, as we said earlier, some things have changed, some things have not. But if you are thinking of starting a podcast in 2024, you're going to want to watch this episode because we're going to give you all the tips and tricks that we have, including some updates on things that worked before but may not work now. Okay, so until next week, thank you so much from me and Winston.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.